Matthew 10 verses 24 to 39. A disciple is not greater than his teacher, nor a slave greater than his master. It is enough for the disciple to become like his teacher, and the slave like his master. If they have called the head of the house Beelzebul, how much worse will they call the members of his household? So do not be afraid of them, for nothing is hidden that will not be revealed, and nothing is secret that will not be made known. What I say to you in the dark, tell in the light, and what is whispered in your ear, proclaim from the housetops. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Instead, fear the one who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Aren't 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them falls to the ground apart from your Father's will. Even all the hairs on your head are numbered. So do not be afraid, you are more valuable than many sparrows. Whoever then acknowledges me before people, I will acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever denies me before people, I will deny also before my Father in heaven. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever does not take up his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life because of me will find it. From the Net Bible Translation.
Please be seated. Wow, that is some gospel to come to terms with. I don't remember struggling more with the Gospels than I have in the last few weeks. And I don't mean struggling to interpret them. I mean struggling with the truth in my life. Struggling with what that truth reveals about us and our country. Struggling with what that truth is asking of us. And struggling with that truth in what I say to you each Sunday. I want to be true to the truth, but I also don't want to be inconvenienced and uncomfortable, challenged to change, or risk disapproval, and being criticised, personally or as a preacher. And I suspect you feel the same as a hearer of the gospel. Don't you sometimes just want an easy gospel? One that affirms our life as it is and leaves us alone. That's easy to preach, easy to hear, and easy to live. None of that, however, is likely to happen today. Jesus has taken his sword and drawn a line in the sand. Paul speaks of that line in the epistle today when he asks, "How can we who died to sin go on living in it?" The line that Jesus draws is a line between acknowledging him before others and denying him before others. And I'm not talking about whether we read the Bible, go to church, say the creed, or post Jesus-y type stuff on our social media. I'm talking about how we live, what we say and don't say, what we do and don't do, the policies we enact or support, and the ideas behind them. I'm talking about where and with whom we make our stand today. There are, however, other lines drawn in the sand. Jesus isn't the only one who draws lines. Some we've drawn for ourselves, and some have been drawn for us by others. They're not hard to see. Lines run through poverty, violence, and injustice. And they run through the lack of equality, education and healthcare. Very topical at the moment. There's even a line running through decisions to wear a mask in public and keep social distance. What did those situations look like when we acknowledge Jesus in them? And when we deny him in them? I'd be surprised if right now some of you think I might have crossed a line, that I've gone from preaching to meddling, that I've left behind the gospel for politics. And I wish it were that easy to avoid the gospel, but it's not. Jesus calls for self-sacrifice and ultimate commitment. Two things that could hardly be more out of step with our current culture, where self-focus is the norm and commitments are rare. The line Jesus draws with his sword intersects every one of the issues I raised and more. It intersects the lines you and I see being drawn in our country today. It runs through your life and my life. It runs through our country. It runs through our thoughts, words, and deeds. For Jesus, there is only one line that matters. And that's why I so struggle with today's gospel. It holds before us a set of values, a way of being, a truth that we either acknowledge or deny. We cannot straddle that line, one foot here, the other one there. There is no middle ground on which to stand. And we can't muddle the line to make our life easier. Jesus' sword cuts through everything. The line he draws runs through every single grain of sand in our life. The line reveals and calls us into a greater priority, a higher authority and a truer identity. Where we stand in relation to that line will determine who we are, the values we hold, and how, or even if, we love our neighbour. If you want to know where Jesus stands, what he stands for, and with whom he stands, look for the places of brokenness and disease. Not disease as in sickness, but dis-ease. Look for love, justice, compassion, peace. Look for people who are hurting, marginalised, oppressed and devalued, the ones we pray about each week. That's where we see Jesus drawing a line in the sand and taking a stand. Today, many imagine that their religious life comprises only one segment of their life. It's their Sunday morning thing. They have a work life, a family life, a social life, and a religious life. They would be unnerved to discover that Christ never envisaged part-time discipleship. there's to be no division between sacred and secular. God expects us to live a Christ-centred existence at work, at play, at school, in relationships, on holiday, and when we make decisions. Admittedly, none of us is perfect, and we often fall short of becoming the person God creates us to be. However, everything we think, say and do, does it reflect our devotion to Christ? And if so, why not ratchet up our degree of commitment? If Jesus only gave us goals that were easily achievable, our devotion would be tepid. Boredom would set in. If Jesus did not make extraordinary demands, we could never accomplish extraordinary things. What line is Jesus drawing in the sands of your life today? What's been revealed to you? And what has been asked of you? Are you acknowledging Jesus or denying him? Those are the questions I ask myself. And I think we all need to be asking ourselves those questions every day of our life, because we all stand somewhere. We all take a stand by our actions or our inactions, by our words or our silence. So that is, where do you stand? For what do you stand? And for whom do you stand? In the Jewish tradition, there's a collection of ethical teachings. And in it, one of the rabbis says this: "It is not your responsibility to finish the work of perfecting the world, but neither are you free to desist from it." It's written by Perky Avot. And I heard those words as an invitation to truthfulness, authenticity, honesty, and integrity. They held a vision of the work before me, and I trust that those words will lead me to a life worthy of Jesus. And I extend that invitation to you. It is not your responsibility to finish the work of perfecting the world, but neither are you free to desist from it. The line has been drawn.